David Golinkin, I'm going to write him after Shabbat. That's great. Oh. Baruch atah Adonai asher kishanu mitzvot v'tzivanu litatei b'tzitzit. Stan, Evie, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom before we get started, Ellen. Edward, back there in the back row, the cheap seats. The season ticket holders are down here. Stan, Shabbat Shalom. Hello. Oh, there. Wait, I knew I saw Sharon here somewhere. Hi, Neil. Yeah, I did see her. Okay. Because I believe she's on this morning. Shir Adonai, Shir Chadash. Ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai, Shir Madavatila. Hallelujah, 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 Shemafiyore, or Hal, Shemeshmaim. Hallelujah, Tenana Minar, Sanimiko, Tamodo, Jordik, Shadik, Order, Saro, Sadabro. Hallelujah, Shirna Shechadash. Tila Topechal Hasidim. Ya hallelujah, Shemavana, I know she's here. I thought I saw her. Shabbat Shalom, old friend. Here she is. To prepare, we are on page 147. I heard, Neil, your plans got messed up again. Unbelievable. They really shut everything down? Wow. Wow. When will we get to Israel? Yeah. Sharon, are you? Oh. Okay. You're the one. You thought you were Musoff?
No, I thought there was a Pesukei Zimra.
Oh, okay.
I thought you did Pesukei Zimra.
No, we don't. We go right to the jugular here. We go right to
My
Shabbat.
fault. Sorry, everybody. Okay.
Page 147, Shochenad.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Okay, so before we begin, there's going to be two shinui today, two slightly different things, and I just want to tell you up front so that you're not surprised. The first is, for the Shema, we're going to slow it down a lot. We're going to reference Kol Atzmosai Tamarna, let every bone in my body, and Nishmat Kochai, the breath of every living thing. So we're going to fill our lungs with breath, and we're going to let it out on each syllable. And it's a testament to the biggest gift that God gives us, which is to put breath into our bodies every day when we wake up in the morning. The second thing we're going to do a little differently is, so I always feel like there's not quite enough silence in Jewish davening. We got a lot of noise and a lot of singing and a lot of words, but we don't always have the silence so that our neshamas can say what we need to say to the Rabbeinu Shalom. So for the Shemona Esrei, we're going to do the first part quietly, silently. We'll come together for the Kedusha and then continue silently. And hopefully you'll have the chance to say what you need to say. So we'll begin with The Gift by Mary Oliver. Be still, my soul, and steadfast. Earth and heaven both are still watching, though time is draining from the clock. And your walk that was confident and quick has become slow. So be slow if you must, but let the heart still play its true part. Love still as once you loved deeply and without patience. let God and the world know you are grateful for the gift that's been given. Page 147. Shochenad marom v'kadosh shemo.
Shochenad marom v'kadosh shemo.
V'fi yesharim tithalal, u'v'divrei tzadikim titbarach, u'v'ilshon chasidim titromam, u'v'karev kedoshim titkadosh. U'makalot rivavot tamecha beit Yisrael.
Shkiva v'disorim v'fnecha v'lotena v'tahar.
Shekein chovat kol yitzurim lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'elahei avoteinu lehodot, lehalel, leshabeach, lefa'er, leromem, lahader, levarech, lialel, lokales, al kol divrei shirot v'tishbechot, David ben Yishai, avdecha meshichecha, yishtabach shemecha, La'ad Malkeinu. Brachot ve'hodaot me'ata v'yad olam baruch atah Adonai el melech gadol b'tishbachot el hahodot Adon haniflahot habocher b'shirei zimra Melech Yachid El Chei HaOlamim.
Please rise, Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yalmad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayeichon u'v'yameichon u'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael b'galav v'zman kariv v'yimeru. Amen.
Amen. Yeshmei Rabbah mevarach l'olam yamayah.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu li'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'yalma v'yimeru. Amen. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch
Please be
atah
seated.
Adonai
Page 150.
Eloheinu melech ha'olam.
Yotzer
Oru
Borei
Borei
Choshev,
Choshev Shalom Uvorei et HaKol.
Hakol yoducha v'hakol yishabchucha. Ayel ha'pokteach v'chol dacham v'yodari v'mizvah v'gnever ki amutzim chaman mikropa. Hami elav tzorlam adah habarach hami v'tovlechem adesh v'tom v'yitzab v'shit.
Ein ki erkecha Adonai Eloheinu b'olam hazeh. There is none like you, God, in this world. V'ein zulatecha malkeinu l'chayei olam baba. And none like you in the world to come. Efes biltecha go'aleinu limot HaMoshiach. V'ein do melech HaMoshiachenu l'techiyat hametim.
Eladon, page 151.
Ya na 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 ya na 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 ya na na ya na 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 ya na na ya na na ya na ya na 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 ya na na ya na 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 El Adon al kol ma'asim barach b'fi kol neshama. God love it to Mahalei Olam Da'atut Vuna So Vivimoto Hamid Goel Chayot HaKodesh V'nedar Bechavod Al HaMerkava Zechut Mishar Lifenechi So Chesed V'rachamim Alech Vodo Tovei me'arat shebara Eloheinu Yitzaram B'da'at b'vina uv'haskel Koach u'gvura natan bahem Liot moshlim b'kerev tevel, Milein zivu mefikim naga, Na ezivam mechal ha'olam, Smechim b'tzeitam v'sahasim b'yom, Osim b'yemaret son kaonam, Pe'er v'chavod notnim lishma, Tzala v'rina l'zecher malchuto, Hara l'shemesh v'yizrach hara, V'hitkin surat ha'levana, Shevach notnim lo, Kol tzeva marom, Tiferet gedula, Seraphim v'ofanim, v'chayot hakodesh.
Page 152, Leila
Le'ela
Sher
Sher Shavas Miklam Avim.
Sheva Shel Yom HaShvi. Tov li'odot l'Adonai.
Tisbarach Moshienu Shelach Maseh Yadecha V'yom Yoreh Shesvi.
Tiparach Moshienu Hashem b'maseh
Page 153. Tidbarach Serena Malkeinu.
Page 153. Tiparach Surin L'Kalev Kedusha.
So this is the Kedusha D'Yotzer, when we stand in the place of the angels, imitating them. And they are Kulam Ahuvim, they are all beloved, Kulam Berurim, they are all of them pure, V'kulam Geborim, and they are all of them very mighty, V'kulam Osim B'yem Over Yiratzon Konam, V'kulam Potchim Et Pihem, and when they open their mouths, what comes out of them is Kedusha V'Torah, holiness and purity, B'shira V'zimra, Umavorchim U'mishabchim, Umafarim Umamritzim Umagdishim Umamlichim Et Shem Ha'el HaMelech HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah HaKadosh V'kulam Mekablim Alehem U'Malchut Shamayim Zeh Mizeh, and they receive the yoke of the heavenly kingdom that they pass on one to the other, just as we do in our own lives. V'notnim Reshu Zela Zela Hakdish Liyotzram B'nachas Ruach B'safa Verua V'inama Kadosha Kulam Ki Echad Onim V'yamrim B'yira
Kadosh, Kadosh,
Kadosh Kadosh Adonai Tzvaos
HaKodesh.
V'ofanim V'chayot HaKodesh Barash Gadol Mitnasim Liumat Serafim Liumatam Mishabechim V'yomrim
Baruch Kavod
Adonai Mimkomo
Elbarachimot Yitzenu. Al Mekubot Zeretz V'masveshimo Borei Refrog. Nora Tehila Danifrog.
Hamechadesh Betuvo B'chol Yom Tamid Maseh Bereshit Ka'amur Liosei Orim Gedolim Ki Leolam Chasto Or Chadash Al Tzion Ta'ir, bring new light to Zion. V'nizkechu lanu meheira li'aro, and may we all be worthy of it. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMe'orot.
Amen.
Avar Rabbav Tanu
Page
Adonai
154.
Eloheinu,
Avar Rabbav Tanu Eloheinu. Shepatchu v'chetem et chayim keitulen tzadinu.
V'ha'ereneinu b'toratecha, v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha, v'yachel levaveinu li'ahava u'yira et shemecha, v'la'nevosh le'olam va'ed, v'la'nevosh le'olam va'ed, ki v'shem kodshecha ha'gadol v'hanora b'hatachnu nagila v'nismecha nagila v'nismecha b'shuatecha. Bring us together from the four corners of the earth as we gather the four corners of our talitot, v'tolichenu kamamiut li'artzenu, and bring us to our land. You have chosen us from among many nations, from among many languages, to bring us closer to your great name in truthfulness. so that we can praise you, and through that praise we can become one with you in love. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Shemo,
habocher bi'amo Yisrael bi'ahava. Nishima Amukah, take a deep breath.
Shema,
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשופך ובקומך, כשאתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. 156, the Shema. וסעתם ועבדתם אלוהים האחרים שתחוויתם להם. שמתם דברי על הרכב וקשרתם אותם להיות עייתכם, ולימדתם אותם את בניכם לתעביר בם בשבתכם. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת להם ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו על ציצית. הכנף בתלתחת, והיה לכם לציצית. וראיתם אותו, זכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם. ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם, ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם. למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 157.
לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וכיסנך ומלכותו ואמונתו ליד קיימת.
ודבריו חיים וקיימים נחמדים. זרע ישראל עבדיך על הראשון ויעקב.
אמת שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, מלכנו מלך אבותינו, גואלנו גואל אבותינו, יוצרנו צור ישועתנו, פודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך, אין אלוהים זולתך. עזרת אבותינו, אתה הוא מעולם.
גם לשבח משפט נפשי הארץ. תברך הדבר סלמי פה אמת. שימים ישרם גרתנו לבנו לבית עבדים בדיתנו. Page 158. על זאת שיבחו אהובים ורוממו הם. רחוב דמך חפך שפלגאים ובישפרים.
תהילות לאל עליון ברך הוא ומבורך משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכהנו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נורא תהילות אוסף אלה שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ויאמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, לעולם ועד. צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ופתחנו ממך יהודה וישראל. Go עלינו, אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני, גואל ישראל.
Kedusha, page 161.
ונאמנת לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים.
נקדש שתפין השם שרק תשמעו בשמי מרום, כך כתוב ינביא הכרזה זה ויאמר.
נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, כך כתוב היד נביאך וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנסים לראות שרפים לעומתם, ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני
ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, מצאתי לו בציון בקרוב ילנו תשכון, הדור ובצחים,
ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך, מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו, לעולם ועד תשכון. תתקדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לנצח נצחים. ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, hallelujah. From generation to generation we will speak of your greatness. ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני.
ברוך שמו.
אל הקדוש.
Continue silently with the remainder of the Shacharit Shabbat Amidah, page 162 through page 166.
Page 167. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Kaddish Shalem, page 167.
Yitkadav Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
B'yamadi v'achirtei v'yamlich machotei b'chayechonu v'yamechonu v'chayirechol Beit Yisrael b'gala b'zman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam le'omei omaya yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yiparah v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemid ha'kudashah. Brechu li'elam mikol berchasa v'shirasa tush v'chasa v'nechamachta damiram b'yoma v'yimeru. Amen. Tizkabot slasan v'hosan d'chol Yisrael kadam v'hun d'yishmai v'yimeru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shlama rabba mitshemai v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'ramav huyaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yal kol yoshvei tevel v'yimeru.
Amen. Take a little breather. Thank you. Chant. And everyone, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, Boker Tov. Last week we had all kinds of greetings but Shabbat Sholom will do it this week, and it's quite beautiful. May this repose from the week give us all uplift and strength and music in our souls, so we are ready now to prepare for the reading of the Torah. Please turn to page 168 for Seder Hotzat HaTorah.
Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai, v'ein k'ma'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai onos le'amo yitein, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Aparachamim etiva birtzoncha et Zion. Tivrechamot Yerushalayim, Tivrechamot Yerushalayim. Ki v'cha levad batachnu, melech el ram v'nisa, Adon olamim.
Please
As
rise, the ark is open.
As the ark was carried forward, this is what Moses would say. Kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oivecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, ki mitzion tetzeh Torah, udevar Adonai miYerushalayim. Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah Torah, li'amo Yisrael b'kedushato.
We are not a people that dies. I know it is difficult to find the balm which would heal our body and our soul, but perhaps it will do us good if we kindle freely the lights of our own treasures and then sing freely in all the hues with which they were born. They will follow us in this world as a shadow that is no shadow at all. It is the Jew within us. It becomes abundantly clear that the freer we are, the more Jewish we are. And the more Jewish we are, the more human we become. Mark Chagall, Be'ana Rachetz.
Be'ana Rachetz, Veli Shemei Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Ana Emar Tushbechan, Be'ana Rachetz, Be'ana Rachetz, Veli Shemei Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Ana Emar Tushbechan, Yehi Rava Kadamach, Tiftach Libi B'Oraita, V'tashlim Mishalim Delibi, V'liba Dechalama Yisrael, L'tav L'chaim V'lishlo Olam. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Gadlu Ladonai iti, uneromemo Shemo yachtav. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lehar kadsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lehar kadsho. Hi ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lehar kadsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lehar kadsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Yananai, yananai, nananai, yananai, 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 yananai,
Okay. Shabbat, wait just a minute. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, it's working. Good. Shabbat Shalom. Goes on, it goes off. We are getting close to the end of the book of Breshit, of Genesis. We're reading from the portion of Vayigash, which we're reading the last part of the triennial on page 283, beginning with the top verse, which I alluded to last night, that the first thing Judah did when he was sent by his father Jacob, he built a Beit Midrash, according to the Midrash. So we have the brothers coming back together. This is a very emotional scene of Joseph being reunited with his brothers. And we're going to, as we're reading through the text, I want you to think about the character of Joseph. He has a complete transformation here at the end. He comes back to who he was. And many of the rabbis attribute his appellation as Hatzadik, as the righteous, the most righteous of all Jews in history, more than Moses, more than Isaiah, more than Hillel, more than Akiva, Yosef, because he was a Baal Tshuva. He returned to his people. We're going to be exploring that a lot more. Very interesting part of Joseph's character, which Jordan and I had a chance to talk about last night as we were leaving. You'll see here in the warnings, Joseph's trying to orchestrate his brothers and his father coming back to Egypt. And he says, you know, I know you're shepherds, and shepherds are looked askance, looked down upon in Egypt, because the sheep was considered the holy language and the holy animal, and a lot of allusions to that. So he says, be careful about saying who you are. And what's so interesting is when the brothers come back, and Pharaoh asks, what do you do? He said, and they completely ignored Joseph, said, we're shepherds. And the Pharaoh didn't even respond to that, which means, it's very interesting about Joseph. Why was he always so worried and concerned about appearing to be too much in the face of his Egyptian neighbors? What does it say about his character? So we're going to be exploring that a lot more. Joseph, his return, and his reticence at the same time. So let's begin the reading. I've said too much introduction. Let's go.
Ja, azor v'yogain v'yoshilo chol chosim boven omar, amen. Hakol havu gadela lahin hu kavod la Torah, kohen krav ya'amod meir tevya ben Rav Sholom v'chanasura hakohen, Baruch shenatan Torah liyomo Yisrael b'kedushato, v'adhem hadvekim badanai laheichem, chayim kolchem hayom.
Baruch Hu es Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Elam Vayed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vayed. Baruch Atah Adonai Lehin Melech Haolam Asher Baruch Arbonu Mikol Ha'amim V'nosan Lenu Es Torah So Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'et Yehuda shalach lefanav el Yosef lahorot lefanav Goshna v'yavo arza Goshen v'yasor Yosef merkavto v'ya likrat Yisrael aviv Goshna v'yerai la v'yipol al tzarav v'yevk al tzavarav od Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef amut hapam acharei roti et panecha ki ochai.
Baruch Atah Adonai Lehin Melech Haolam Asher Nosan Lenu Torahs Emes V'chayei Haolam V'noda B'sachenu Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen. Yasher Koach.
Amod, Ben Sion Fivel Ben Yaakov, Halevi, Ruth Halevi. The Levi Aliyah is found on page 283, verse 31.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Elam Vayed.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, asher b'chabanu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Yosef el Echav v'el beit aviv elev yagida lefaro ve'omera elav achai uvet avi asher b'et Kenan באו אליי והאנשים ראו צאן כי אנשי מקנה היו בצאנם ובקרים וכל אשר להם הביאו והיה כי יקרא לכם פרעה ואמר מה מעשיכם ואמרתם אנשי מקנה היו עבדיך מנורינו וידעת גם אנחנו גם אבותינו בעבור תשבו בארץ גושן כי תועבת מצרים כל רצון.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך עולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי לא מנותה בצרכינו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Yasher Koach. Doctor? You can't leave without saying hello.
Talmud, Bela bat Chana David v'chaya Esther Shlishi.
We're going to set up the
The
time.
Shlishi Aliyah is found on page 284, chapter 47, verse 1.
Yasher Koach. Are you still on? Oh, careful. mask is that? I think Marty. Yeah, it's dropped on the floor now, though.
Like that one?
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'char banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torto. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayavo Yosef, Vayagid lefaro, Vayomer, Avivi achai, V'tzonam v'karam v'chol asher lahem, Ba'u me'eretz Canaan, V'hanam be'eretz Goshen, U'makse'echa Lakach hamisha nashim Vayatzikem lifnei Faro Vayomer Paro Elechav mamasechem Vayomru el Paro Reitzon Avodecha Gam anachnu Gam avotenu Vayomru el Paro Lago ba'aretz Banav Banu Ki ein mireh Litzon Asher li'avadecha Ki kavad hara'ah be'eretz Canaan Yata yeshvu na'avadecha be'eretz Goshen Vayomer Paro el Yosef lemor Avicha v'yachecha b'u'ei lecha Eretz Mitzrayim lefonecha hiv v'ameit tav aretz Hoshev et avicha v'et achecha Yeshvu be'eretz Goshen v'am yadat Yeshvom anshe chayeh v'samtam Sharei mignei al
Migdal asher li.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'chofenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And Bill, in honor of, in memory of your beloved father, David Kurlansik. Did I pronounce it correct? A blessed memory, Zichron Livracha. Bless you, give you strength with your memory.
Ta'amod.
Gittel
Gittel Bat Sisa Halevi, Revi'i.
The Revi'i Aliyah is found on page 285, verse 7.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Habarach Le'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'char banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayave Yosef et Paro. Vaye Yosef et Yaakov aviv. Vayimadehu lifnei Faro. Vayavorech Yaakov et Paro. Vayomer Paro el Yaakov Kama yemei shnei chayecha Vayomer Yaakov el Paro yemei shnei megurai shloshim u'ma'at shana me'at v'rim Hayu yemei shnei chayei V'lo hasigu את ימי שני חיי אבותיי בימי מגוריהם. ויברך יעקב אל פרעה
ויצא לפני פרעה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach.
Ta'amod, bat himi gila bat nechama leava Menachem Michael Chamishi.
The Chamishi Aliyah is found on page 286, verse 11.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayoshev Yosef et aviv et achiv, vayitein lahem achazah be'eretz Mitzrayim, u'meitav ha'aretz be'eretz Ramsey, seis ka'asher tziva Pharaoh. Vaychakel Yosef et aviv et achiv, v'echav v'eko beit aviv, lechem lefi hatav, v'lechem ein b'chol haaretz, ki chaved hara'av ma'od, v'tela eretz Mitzrayim v'eretz Canaan, mipnei hara'av. V'yilaked Yosef et kol hakesef hanimsa be'eretz Mitzrayim u've'eretz Canaan, Bashever asher heim shovrim, vayaveh Yosef et hakesef beta Pharaoh, vayitam hakesef me'eretz Mitzrayim u'me'eretz Canaan, vayavo kol Mitzrayim el Yosef, Lord, havalanu lechem, V'lama namut negdecha, ki afeis kasef. Vayomer Yosef havu miknechem, v'etna lachem v'miknechem im afeis kasef. Vayavo et meham el Yosef, vayitein lahem Yosef lechem basusim. Uv'miknei hatzon, uv'miknei habakar, uv'chamarim, v'nahalem b'lechem b'chol mikneihem, b'shana hahi, v'titom hashana hi, v'yavo elav, b'shana hasheni, v'yomru lo nischachei me'adoni, ki im tam hakasef, u'miknei habehema el adoni, lo nishar lifnei adoni, ilti im gavi yatenu v'yadmatenu, lama namut leinecha, kama anachnu kam admatenu, K'nei otanu et admatenu, lachem v'niyeh, anachnu v'admatenu avadim l'Pharaoh, v'tein zera, v'nichem v'lo namut, v'adama lo tisham.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Birkat Gomel.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hagomel l'chaim tovot shekmaleni kol tov.
Mish Gamalei Kol Tov, Gimelei Kol Tov.
Selah.
Selah. Bethany, stay well. And your dear husband, too. Yasher koach. Welcome back. Okay. 6 Aliyah.
Ya'amdu,
Chanabad Zalman Tzvi.
Chanabad,
Zalman
Zalman Tzvi, Viet, Tevye ben Yitzchak, Shishi.
The Shishi Aliyah is found on page 287, verse 20.
Baruch et Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bo harbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu torto. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. No chumash there. I don't.
Amen. Vayiken Yosef et kol admat Mitzrayim לפרעה כי מכרו מצרים איש שדהו כי חזק עליהם הרעב ותהי הארץ לפרעה דיאתם העביר אותו לערים מקצה גבול מצרים ליד קצהו רק אדמת הכהנים לא קנה כי חוק לכהנים בעת פרעה ויאכלו את חוקם אשר נתן להם פרעה כן לא מכרו את אדמתם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai notein ha'torah.
Amen.
Yes.
Ya'amod, Yosef Aaron ben Chaim Yehoshua, the Shloma Shvi'i.
The Shavi'i Aliyah is found on page 288, verse 23.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vahed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu es toraso. Baruch atah Adonai nosein ha'torah.
Amen.
Amen. Vayomer Yosef el Amen. קניתי אתכם היום וידמתכם לפרעה. אליכם זרע זרעתם את האדמה והיה בדבואות ונתתם חמישית לפרעה וערבה הידות יהיה לכם לזרע השדה ולאוכלכם ולאשר בבתיכם ולאכול לטפכם ויאמרו החיתנו נמצא חן בעיני אדוני והיינו עבדים לפרעה וישם אותה יוסף לחוק עד היום הזה על אדמת מצרים לפרעה לחומש רק עד הכהנים לבדם ולא יתה לפרעה וישב ישראל בארץ מצרים בארץ גושן ויחזו ויפו וירבו
מאוד.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורה אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Please rise, everyone. Our Misha Bera for those who are ill. We ask for refuah shlema. Misha Bera Avotenu Avram Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rechav Leah, Yivarech v'repet et kol hacholim. Tevye Gershom ben Aaron Avi Rivka, Tzvi Yitzhak ben Shima v'Chaya, David Yosef ben Chanabasha, Chana Chanover, Yitzhak bat Shulamit, Rivka Schiffer bat Sarah Razels, Susan Burmaster, Juliana Parecki, Talia bat Moshe, Julie Rachel, Chava bat Yochevet, Tova bat Miriam v'Yitzchak, Lily Gibson, Rabbi Everett Gendler, Daniel Yitzchak ben Yehuda Leib, Rachel bat Sarah, Eddie Miller, John Puck Haber, Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yimlei Rachim Yamleihem, Lachtikal Rapotam, V'yishlach Lehem Meira Refuah Shleiman Mishamayim, Refuat HaNefesh, Refuat HaGuf, B'tosh Sharach HaCholim, V'chazek Yedidei HaUskim B'tzorchehem, Shabbatim Izokor V'okor Avolavo, Hashta Bizman Kari V'nomar. Amen. May you bless our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessing and healing to all of our loved ones we've mentioned in our prayers this morning. May the Holy One mercy restore them to health, excuse me, and vigor, granting them both spiritual and physical well-being together with all others who are ill. May God grant strength to those who tend to them. It's Shabbat. We refrain from calling out, yet we pray and hope for a world of peace, a world of healing. And let us say, Amen. Amen. Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikadar v'yikadash Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Yivrach Yudutei Yamlich Malachutei B'chayei
Yom Echonu Chayei L'kol Beit Yisrael.
Shemei de Kudesha
Brichu
Yela min kol birchata v'shirata
Tushbechata v'nechamata mihiran yama. Amen. Please be seated.
Ya'amod HaHazan
Menachem
ben Ze'ev Yosef V'Adina Maftir.
The Maftir Aliyah is found on page 288, verse 25.
Baruch Adonai Barach Lelam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Barach Lelam Vahed. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Vayomeru itanu nitzachim b'yeinei Adoni v'ayinu avadim lefaro vayasem motai Yosef lechuk ad hayom hazeh al admat Mitzrayim lefaro lachomesh rak admat hakohen v'adam lo hayta lefaro וישב ישראל בארץ מצרים ובארץ גושם יחזו ויפרו ויבואו מאוד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני noten haTorah.
Amen. Please rise.
Amdu Hamagbia Vahagolelet.
V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe לפני בני ישראל, אבי אדוני, ביד משה. וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל, אותי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה ששם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. You may be seated. La 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 la. Please be seated. I'd like to just introduce the text by thanking my friend Kenner Simon, because we had a meeting, was it yesterday? It seemed like a long time ago.
Yes, Rabbi.
We're planning a terrific program a week from this coming Sunday, on the 19th, at Temple Sinai at 7 o'clock p.m. And I guess it's unusual for the community. We have a conservative rabbi and Reform rabbi, Rabbi Samantha Kahn. And your brother-in-law, is he conservative or Orthodox
He's
rabbi?
modern Orthodox rabbi.
Modern Orthodox rabbi. So it's a very unusual combination. We're going to be talking about Jewish morality, and I'm sure it'll be a very interesting program. But there was a comment made during the meeting, which is a commentary on the Haftarah, that it's easier to get Jews to integrate with other faith groups than to get our own, remember that line? Yes. Than to get our own people together. Well, that's what the prophet Ezekiel was saying in his Haftarah, that he envisions a time when all Jews from all backgrounds will be able to get together. So I thought it was very appropriate, as we're getting together next Sunday, to have the one who made all this possible, Kenner Simon, to be chanting the text about Jewish unity one day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
My pleasure.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bacha b'nbiim tovim v'atzah b'divreihem v'nemarim b'emet. Baruch Ata Adonai Aboche b'torah u'Moshe Adov Yisrael amo v'niyei hamet chatzeh.
Amen. Page 291.
ויהי דבר אדוני אלי לאמור, ואתה בן אדם, קח לך עץ אחד וכתוב עליו ליהודה ולבני ישראל חבריו, ולקח עץ אחד וכתוב עליו ליוסף עץ אפרים וכל בית ישראל חבריו, וקרב אותם אחד לאחד, לך לעץ אחד, והיו אחדים בידיך. וכאשר יאמרו אליך בני עמך לאמור, הלא תגיד לנו מה אלה לך. דבר עליהם כה אמר אדוני אלוהים, הנה אני לוקח את עץ יוסף אשר ביד אפרים ושבטי ישראל חבריו, ונתתי אותם עליו את עץ יהודה, ועשיתים לעץ אחד, והיו אחד בידי. והיו העצים אשר תכתוב עליהם בידך לעיניהם. ודבר אליהם כה אמר אדוני אלוהים הנה אני לוקח את בני ישראל מבין הגויים אשר הלכו שם וקיבצתי אותם מסביב והבאתי אותם אל אדמתם ועשיתי אותם לגוי אחד בארץ וערי ישראל ומלך אחד יהיה לכולם למלך ולא יוול לשני גויים ולא יחצו עוד שתי ממלכות עוד ולא יתעמוד בגידוליהם ובשקרותיהם ובכל פשעיהם הושעתי אותם מכל מושבותיכם אשר חטאו בהם ותיארתי אותם והיו לי לעם ואני אהיה להם לאלוהים ועבדי דוד מלך עליהם ורועה אחד יהיה לכולם משפטי ילכו וחוקותי ישמעו ועשו אותם וישבו על הארץ אשר נתתי לעבדי ליעקב אשר ישבו באבותיכם וישבו עליה המה ובניהם עד עולם לדוד אבי נשיא להם לעולם וחרתי להם ברית שלום ברית עולם יהיה אותם ונתתים והרביתי אותם ונתתי את מקדשי בתוכם לעולם והיה משכני עליהם והייתי להם לאלוהים והם היו לי לעם וידעו הגויים כי אני אדוני מקדש את ישראל ביום מקדשי את אורחם לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם צור כל עמים צדיק בכל הדורות האל הנאמן האומר ויוסף מדבר ומקיים שכל דבריו אמת וצדק נאמן אתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ונאמנים דבריך ודבר אחד מדבריך אך לא ישוב ריקם כי יהיה מלך נאמן ורחמן אתה ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך וברוך שמו
האל הנאמן בכל דבריו
אמן
רחם הציון נגי בית חיינו ולעלובת נפש תושיע במהרה בימינו ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו
ישמח ציון בבניה
אמן
שמחנו אדוני אלוהינו בידנו אבי עבדיך מלכות בית דוד משיחך במהרה יבוא יגל ליבנו על כיסאו לא ישב זר ולא ינחלו עוד אחרים את כבודו. כי בשם קודשך נשבעת לו, שלא יקפני רוב לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו,
מגן דוד.
אמן.
על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים ועל יום השבת הזה שנתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו לקדושה ולמנוחה לכבוד ולתפארת על הכל אדוני אלוהינו אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו,
מקדש השבת.
Please rise, everyone. Yasher Koch, Ken Simon. Let's read together the prayer for our country, our fragile country. All we should remember in our prayers, never to take for granted what we have, to be taken away so quickly. If there's any lesson from history we learn, it's that. So, let's read together on page 177, the first paragraph. Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders and its judges, its officers and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed, so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land. And on page 178, in the English translation, the prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Shebashamayim, stronghold and redeemer of the people of Israel. Bless the state of Israel, beginning of our redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace, inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated as we continue with the Ashrei, page 181.
Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yolelu Chasela Ashrei Ha'am Shekacha Lo Ashrei Ha'am Shadonai Elohav Gilad David Arumim Echadai HaMelech V'Acha Shemecha L'Olam V'Aved
B'chol yom avrechecha v'lashimcha lilam va'ed.
Adol Adonai Moulam Me'od V'Nigdolato Ein Cheka
Odor shemach masecha v'retach yagidu.
Adar Kavod Odecha V'Divrei Nivlotecha Sicha
Ezu rotzach yameru latras aprena.
Zicher Avtu B'Chaya Biyu V'Tzicha L'Chaya Raneinu
Anu v'ruchim Adonai rechapam yutachased.
Tov Adonai L'Kol V'Rachamav Ha'Kol V'Asar
Yodu b'chol masecha v'sidecha yavachucha.
Kavod Malchutecha Yomeru Kavod Adonai Yedaberu
L'hodi livni adam g'rotav v'kavod adar malchuto.
Malchutecha Malchu Kol Amim U'Memshatecha B'Chol Dor V'Dor
Somech adonai b'chol hanoflim. Zokef l'chol hakfufim.
Einei Chol Einecha Yisaberu V'Atan Adonai Medok Lamito
Otek etetecha maspia l'chol charatzon.
Okay. Oh no. Tzadik Adonai B'Chol Derecha V'Chasid B'Chol V'Asar
Karov adonai b'chol korav. V'shik ruv emet.
Ritzon Yerei Av Yasef Yeshavatam Yishma V'Yoshiyeh
Shomer adonai et kol ha'avar. V'et kol risha'im yashmin.
Tilat Adonai Yedaber Bi V'Varei Kol Basar Shem Kosho L'Olam V'Aved V'Anachnu Hallelujah et Shem Adonai, ki niskav Shemo levado, hodo valeret v'shamayim, v'yarem kereneah, tehilah lecha, Hasiyetav libnei Yisrael amkiro. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Yizmor leDavid. Havel Adonai b'nei Elim, havel Adonai kavod va'oz, havel Adonai kavod shemo, yishtachavu l'Adonai b'hadarat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim melech kavod yirim, Adonai al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai b'kovach, kol Adonai be'ata, kol Adonai shover arazim, v'yishaber Adonai et arzei ha'lebanon, v'yakidem kamo meged Lebanon v'Sirion, kamo ben re'imim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavatesh, kol Adonai yachil midabar, yachil Adonai midabar kadesh, kol Adonai yechol layalot, vayechesov yarot, uvehichalo kulo, omer kavod. Adonai lemavod yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech le'olam, Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'asham. Uvenucho yomar, כי לכך טוב נתתי לכם, תורתי אל תעזובו את חיים היא למאזינים בה ותומכיה מאושר דרכיה נועם וכל דיבותיה שלום השירנו אדוני אלך ונשבה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו
Torah service is absolutely beautiful. I'll share a few words now. First of all, welcome a lot of people who I know we're getting more and more people coming back. It's very hot. We should be reminded, I understand, don't know any details about the horrendous tornadoes that hit the middle of the country, just beyond the comprehension. So it's poor people today. We're very fortunate. Every day we have peace. So, one of the great joys that a rabbi gets, probably the greatest joy I get, is someone will come up to me from years past and say, Rabbi, you turned my life around. I didn't realize who I was as a Jew till I studied with you, or whatever the experience was, the wedding, the bar mitzvah. And you turned my life around as a Jew, There are a lot of things, other things, but that is, when that happens, it's like the top of the line. It's the Rolls Royce of being a rabbi. And that role is taken very seriously, and I hope that we will have those experiences here at Temple Beth Sholom, with people coming in. We need to recruit. We need to change the dynamics of a lot of lost, especially young Jews who need to find their way back. And I dedicate this Devar Torah, this drasha, to that situation, because it's all about Joseph. It was his life. I know that the portion that we read in the prophet Ezekiel, about the importance of tshuva and the brothers coming back together and the family and the unity of the people and all that. But there's another hidden agenda in the text that I think is extremely important, and that is Joseph rediscovering his own identity. Now, just give a thought to this. If Joseph had a cell phone back then, he would have been able to contact his father and say, or said something, I'm in Egypt, everything's fine. But he chose not to. They didn't have a cell phone. They didn't have cell phones back then. As a matter of fact, can you imagine how many of the biblical stories would have been changed if there were cell phones? I'm looking at Jordan because he appreciates this. Moses was one day late. The 40 days it was at sun. Imagine he had a phone. He said, don't worry, I'll be there in a day. I'm coming. He had the golden calf and the sin of the golden calf. It just messed the whole generation up. If he had a cell phone, Jordan. And a lot of instances like that. And you imagine if Moses could have kept in touch while he was in Midian and said, what's the situation like there? Instead of spending 40 years away. And all kinds of other. Jacob, if he had the chance while his brother Esau was coming, say, listen, brother, I want to make peace. You okay? No armies, no problems. Well, cell phones, they didn't have them. The wonders of technology. But still, though, Joseph, even without a cell phone, one of the real conundrums of rabbinic commentary here is that it wasn't that far away from Egypt to Eretz Yisrael. And he was second in charge to the Pharaoh. He could have sent messengers, shlichim, to see how his father was doing, let his father know that he was okay, to see if his brothers were around. Hey, brothers, I'm here, your accountability. But he didn't do that. He chose to completely abandon his family. And there are a lot of different reasons given for that. But I want to concentrate on one of the reasons that comes through in our rabbinic commentaries on the text. It all started with the naming of his two sons, Manasseh the oldest and Ephraim the youngest. Let's see if I can find those verses real quickly. When he becomes a big shot in Egypt, he marries the daughter of an Egyptian priest, and then he has his two kids. There we go. And it says, when Menashe was born, Vayikra Yosef et Shem HaBechor Menashe. He named his oldest one Menashe, the name Menashe, Ki Nasheni Elohim Kol Amali, because God made me forget all of my burdens, V'et Kol Beit Avi, and let me forget the house of my father. And then it says, V'et Shem Hasheni Kara Ephraim, and the second son he called Ephraim, Ki Ifrani Elohim Be'eretz Oni, because God made me very successful in this different land of affliction. So in other words, what Joseph was saying, and one of my colleagues said he named his kids amnesia and assimilation. On the one hand, he chose to tried to forget who he was, his whole family, and the other one, you made me great in Egypt, I don't need anything else anymore. And certainly we can understand why Joseph felt that way. He was dealt with pretty roughly. His family threw him into slavery. For years, his father thought he was dead. And as far as he knew, no one came to look for him. So he got to Egypt. He was thrown into a dungeon, into a pit. He rose to a new position there. And he did extremely well in his new environment as a poter chalamot, the interpreter of dreams. He was appointed the second in power in Egypt. He was a very, very successful man. So he wanted to forget where he came from and to celebrate his success in a new land. To me, as a rabbi, it sounds like a lot of Jewish stories here in the United States. A lot of people forgot the origins from where their parents or grandparents or great-grandparents came from, the misery and the poverty and the anti-Semitism of the shtetl or wherever they were, where they came from. It's a good thing sometimes to forget the tragedies and the difficulties of our origins, of our past. Who wants to dwell on that? And the same as today, the big challenge in Israel and outside of Israel for our youth is, in many ways, they've forgotten where they came from. They forget. It's a lot easier to do it. Say, I'm going to celebrate my life here. Why should I dwell upon the past? It's like Tisha B'Av is a very hard commemoration for us to come out and commemorate, observe the fast day. It used to be that all Jews fasted on Tisha B'Av. They used to come in droves to remember the destructions of the two temples and the expulsion from Egypt and so many other things. So why be sad? Why mourn if you're successful? In many ways, we are like Joseph. We have the same challenges. We forget Beit Avi, the house of my father, which he admitted he wanted to forget. And we celebrate success. I would say it's a very human thing to do. Not because people are bad in doing so, but it's very, very easy to forget that which was difficult and celebrate that which is good. And it's a very natural thing to think that the past of the tragedies are finished, to celebrate our successes of the present. And that's what makes the Joseph story, I think, so interesting. Vayigash, not only did Vayigash approach his brothers, but in many ways it was about him approaching himself. His discovery, his past came back to him. He realized when he saw his brothers, with the beginning part of the portion, he went into the next room and he didn't want to be seen. He started crying, weeping. It's a very emotional scene here in Vayigash. Because perhaps you could say all of a sudden he really realized that he couldn't put the past away. And he realized who he was. There's something very deep, something very core to him. Beit Avi. That he couldn't forget the house of his father, his family, his roots, his tradition. Yes, his values, his ideals were shaped when he was young. And I think the big challenge is for us today is to realize that many have forgotten where they came from. And they luxuriate in what they have today. And then all of a sudden the past is brought to the door. And we're reminded where we came from. And it doesn't necessarily have to be anti-Semitism. It can be something else, a family member, an experience. We try to forget, and then all of a sudden the soul comes back. We probably all could share our own stories of how we became so committed in our Jewish observance. There's a great episode. I don't know if you've heard the name Bernard Berenson. Have you heard of that name? He was considered the greatest art critic in history. And he was a Jew who was raised in a traditional home that spoke only Yiddish. He left his home at a young age, went to Italy, and became the foremost evaluator and critic of Italian art, and specifically Renaissance Italian art. He was known all over the world. And he completely abandoned his Jewish background. Totally. 100%. No one even knew he was Jewish. Although he didn't change his name, but he abandoned it. Isaiah Berlin, it was a very prominent philosopher. I don't know how to categorize Isaiah Berlin. He was at Oxford. And he had heard in his, we're getting a lot of Oxford these days with Professor Barton we had. So he heard that Bernard Berenson was on the throes of death. I don't know how many years ago. I think it was in the 50s. And he went to Italy to see Bernard Berenson. And he couldn't believe they had this last conversation before he died. And he came back to Oxford and he said, all Bernard Berenson wanted to do was speak in Yiddish and tell Yiddish jokes. All of a sudden, at the end of his life. So it's an amazing thing. Isaiah Berlin said he had a Joseph experience. He discovered his past. He returned. He realized where he came from. And that's what happened to Joseph. He suddenly remembered the beginning of his life in his parents' home before everything that happened. I believe one of the very strong messages we recite when we say Elohei Avraham, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Yitzchak, our patriarchs and matriarchs, there's a reason why we have to remember our roots, to constantly remind ourselves not to forget where we came from every time we recite the Amidah. To me, it's a very powerful experience to see this line for myself and for all of you from the past. And of course, what was Joseph's renewed Jewish identity was the first thing that Moses wanted to do, and his own goal was to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. Forget Egypt all of a sudden. He didn't want anything to do with it. And Moses instructed that Joseph's coffin be brought back for burial into the land of Israel, along with the coffin, the ark, the Aron that carried the Luchot HaBrit, the tablets of the covenant. And they stood right next to her because, as the Midrash said, Moses said, look at the two. Joseph is the embodiment, the living embodiment of what those tablets are all about. And that's why the two were carried together through the desert over 40 years until Joseph was buried in the land of Israel. And that is why many say he was the only one who was given the description of Yosef HaTzadik, the righteous one. Not because he was this great righteous person all the time. That's because from his powerful position from where he was, he returned to his people. He gave that abandonment up. He was a Baal Tshuva. He came back to tell the story of our people and to affirm that. He was a successful diaspora Jew who went to a foreign land, bad circumstances, but he succeeded. And even though he started out wanting to assimilate more than anything else in his life, in the end he didn't. And perhaps that's why we bless our children after Joseph's children, Ephraim and Manasseh, the sons. You know, it's a very interesting connection there. Not Moses' children, nobody else's, because he pulled his children out of Egypt. Ephraim and Manasseh continued the line of the Jewish people. That was Joseph's strength. And he became part of our heritage and history, as we want our children and our grandchildren as well. So Israel blesses Joseph's children, bridging the generations to be blessed in Israel, and establishing the covenant that Jacob was promised for all the generations for all time. And I just share this to you because I think that one of our great goals, and we're going to be meeting tomorrow morning as a congregation, we have to do everything we can to try to bring especially our young Jews back, to make them, whatever, celebrate the Joseph life, to make sure that our children and grandchildren never forget where they came from, and that they will always have a place in the future of our people. No matter how late it is, they're always welcome back. Joseph returned to his beginnings, his essence. Let us all continue to find the strength of ourselves, a resolve. And we do have a goal. We have to make sure that the future generations of the Jewish people will endure forever. Likvod Yosef, in honor of Joseph. Shabbat Sholom, everyone. Please rise, everyone, now for the Musoff Service, which can be found on page, Chatzi Kaddish, page 184. Amen. Amen. Yeshmei Rabba Mevarach V'Ya'olam Adamei Hamayam Yiparach
Yitparach V'yishtabach V'yitpoar V'yitroma V'yinasei V'yitadar V'yitalem V'yitalal Shemei D'Kudesh HaBerichu
Berichu
Le'ayla Mikol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata V'nechemata Damiran Be'alma Be'alma V'yimru Amen
Page 185, Avot V'Imahot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Eloheinu Eloheinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei
Yaakov
Elohei
Sarah
Elohei
Rivka
Elohei
Rachel
Elohei
Leah
Omer HaGadol HaGibor VeHanora Elohei
Elyon
Komen Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Yakol V'Zocher Chazeo V'Imo Maybe go on and name it Leman Shemo B'Yava Melech Ozer V'Kedu Moshiach U'Magei
Baruch atah Adonai Magid Avraham V'Zekei Sarah
Tagi Boli Elam Adonai Mechayim
Mitzim et Harav Hoshia
Shiva Ruach Michal Kel Chayim
Chesed Metim Berachamim Rabim
Somen Noflim Ravei Cholim Omatir Asurim Mekayim
Emunato
Shenei Afar
Michamocha Bagevurot U'mitamelach Melech Beit U'nachayahu Atzviyat Yeshua
V'ne'eman atah l'chayom eitim Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo Amen. Kedusha, page 187. Naris, I would like to use us to Safi Kodesh. Ama Kishim Shal Kodesh, Kakadu,
Kisod Siach Sarefei Kodesh Hamakdishim Shimcha Bakodesh Kakadu
צבאות, מלוך על הארץ כבודו. כבודו מלא משתף שונים זה לזה, גם כבודו למתגרו גמירו.
כבודו מלא עולם, שרת שואלים
שואלים זה לזה, היה מקום כבודו. שואלים זה לזה, היה מקום כבודו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ברוך מי וחלום מחמיד שמו ערב הבוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים בשמה אומרים.
במקומו יפן ברחמים ויחונם עמם יחדים שמו ערב הבוקר בכל יום תמיד ערב הבוקר בכל יום
תמיד
במקומו ויפן ברחמים ויחונם יחדים שמו פעמיים יבוא שמה אומרים
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד
ואלוהינו אבינו ומכינו מושיענו והוא ישמיענו רחמיו שני דייני
כל חיים
להיות לכם לאלוהים
אני אדוני אלוהיכם
אלוהיכם ודברי קודשך כתוב לאמור
ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור הללויה
דור ודור
נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש
לדור ודור
נגיד גודלך
ולנצח נצחים
ולנצח נצחים
קדושתך
נקדיש
בשבחך ולווינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד כי על מלך גדול וקדוש אתה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים קדושתך ברוך אתה אדוני
ברוך שמו continue silently with the remainder of the Amidah, Musoff Shabbat, page 188A through page 192. מוסף אין כהלכתה, מוסף יום השבת הזה וביום השבת. ישמחו במלכותך שלום. ברוך אתה לא ברשע ודי רצון תביא את זרעך עוד ימנח לך הטוב כי לא פרחמך ומרחם תורתם וחסדך שים שלום
שומרי שבת קורא עונג מקדשי מקדשי שבי כולם יסבלו ויתן גו מיטובך
Hadith Shalem, page 203.
יתגדל ויגדל שמי רבה
אמן.
ויעלמד ברכיותי וימליך מלכותי וחיי כל ביום אחד וחיי כל בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב
Amen.
Yes, made up of the Vora, the Olam and on Maya. It went up, we stabbed me, Pavi, Turmamina, Savit, Hadad, with the Levit, the Lodge made a good shaveri.
Briho.
The Olam, Mikabata, Vishata, Tushpihata, Venakamata, Namiram Yamamim. Amen.
Amen.
Ikabat Ladan, Badan, Israel, Kodon, Shemaya,
Amen.
Ishlam Arab, Mitchemaya, Vichaim, Alena Biakol Israel, Imru.
Amen.
Ose Shalom Bimroma, Yase Shalom
Aleinu Biakol Yisrael, Imru. Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisrael. Amen. In Kelohenu, page 204.
Ein Keloheinu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkeinu, ein Kamoshiainu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michemalkeinu, Michamoshiainu, Nodal Eloheinu, Nodal Adonenu, Nodal Lemakeinu, Adela Moshiach, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonai, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshiach, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonai, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshiach, Atahu Shektihu, Avoteinu,
Let's rise for Aleinu, page 205.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, הטוב ונודע יוצא בראשית, שלא עשה לגויי הרצון ולא שמנו במשפחות האדמה, שלא שם כגויי וגור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים
הקדוש ברוך הוא
שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגופי מרומים הוא אלוהינו מלכנו וזולתו ככתוב בתורות הידעת היום השבות. על כן יקרא לך אדוני כי המלכות שלך היא ולמעט תמלוך בכבוד ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד נאמר היה אדוני למלך כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
Thank you, soul. Let's pause to remember our loved ones whose yard sites are observed this week. We remember Erwin Ernst, Ada Simon, Zichronah Livracha, Shirley Brodsky, Clementine Noah, Ben J. Rogers, James David Stillman, Sidney Dvorak, Howard Morris, Valentina Mayasnikova, Clementine Noah, Harriet Post, David Kurlansik, Marguerite Beck, Dorothy Lerner, Marion Ellis, Fanny Young, Zelda Ringler, Julius J. Hafetz, Cynthia Ann Levison, Esther C. Lichtenstein, Marie Olshansky, Pauline Einstein, Laser Bulk, Hannah Bulk, Nochem Vinarski, Barnett Ginsburg, Ethel Bieber, Virginia Schmalow, Bertha Feldman, Murray Rubel, Abe Cranman, Milton Jonas, Rizzle Kronik, Cynthia Ann Levison, Samuel David Hirsch, Jerry Ring, Louis Shuchat, Robert Gary Solomon, Alfred Christofferson, Lila Sesserman, Harry G. Levin, Zichronam Livracha, all of best blessed memory. Those remembering yard sites, affirming life, praising God for the gift of life of our loved ones. Together on page 207. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalmad yivrach yerutei v'yamech malchutei, v'chayechon of yamechon, v'chayet echol beit Yisrael, agalau v'zman karim v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'lam v'lomei amayam, yiparach v'yishtabach, v'yipar v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei l'kudisha, Rechu, Ela min kol bechata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, dam yiran v'yalma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. El shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Please be seated. Dr. Ferber with the announcements.
Good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom, L'mishpachtenu, our family, because we are indeed a family. It's a pleasure to welcome you all today, our regular members, our snowbirds. We are very pleased to see Bethany Weinberger with us here today. We send best wishes to you and David. And also there are numerous guests this morning. A special welcome to Barbara and Eduardo Meron, welcome. And to all the other guests, there are quite a few this morning. So a warm welcome to you all. Thank you, Rabbi Altshuler, for your words of wisdom this morning. I think your sermon was particularly meaningful and thoughtful because the goal of this congregation and congregations throughout the nation and beyond is to welcome people back into the fold and also to attract new members. So I found this very meaningful today. Thank you. We thank, in addition, all of those who participated in the service today: Sharon Strassfeld, Kenta Murray Simon, our Gabbai Jean Ginsberg, and all the Torah readers: Stan Mitchell, Kenta Neil Newman, Jerry Larn, who did double duty, Susan Weintraub, Kenta Neil Newman again, Kenta Murray Simon, who also did beautiful Maftir and Haftorah. We thank you all. The Bima baskets this morning are sponsored by Julie and Don Friedman and family in gratitude for prayers for his refuah shlema and the tangible and emotional support given us during Don's recovery. Don, if you're watching by Zoom this morning, we all wish you a speedy recovery and look forward to seeing you back on the Bima with us. Bima baskets were also sponsored by the Friends of Susan and Chuck Garbett, wishing them good health, good fortune, and good times. They're relocating back to Maryland. Until recent years, Susan was a very regular attendee here on Shabbat and also played an active role on different committees. And so, Susan, we wish you and Chuck all the best in your move. Also, Bima baskets from Sandy and Terry Hayden in honor of their 53rd wedding anniversary, and we wish them many more in health and happiness. With regard to programming, we have our morning minyan from 8 to 9 every morning, with the exception of Thursday, which is in person. The rest are all by Zoom. Mahjong has returned. We have Hebrew lessons starting all over again. And on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m., Rabbi Altshuler's popular classes, and he is certainly giving a class on Wednesday. It was initially thought to be cancelled, but he will be here with us on Wednesday. A few words now about some of the programs. I would like to say at the beginning of introducing the programs that one of the worst side effects of COVID has been the social isolation and loneliness that people have felt. And the programs have really made a major impact in keeping our congregation together, occupying people during this long and arduous time we've been through. So I publicly, and I'll be doing so again tomorrow morning at the Congregational Meeting, I publicly want to thank Al Tridell and his committee for all they have done. It really was quite remarkable. So we thank you. So talking of meetings, tomorrow is our congregational meeting, semi-annual congregational meeting, 11 o'clock, and this will be followed by lunch, which is graciously sponsored by Marsha Eisenberg in loving memory of her husband, Harry. Other events that are going to occur on Thursday evening by Zoom, the 16th of December at 7 p.m., famous and not so famous Jews in Hollywood, politics and medicine. This will be given by Nate Bloom, and you've probably read some of his articles in the Jewish news each month. On Sunday, December 19th, we've got a double header because at 10 o'clock in the morning in the social hall is the Sisterhood membership celebration. And the theme is You Must Have Been a Beautiful Baby, and people are encouraged to bring photographs of their baby pictures. I remember they've had it before and it was a lot of fun. Also on Sunday night, as you heard earlier, is the panel Jewish Ethics for today, and the panel consists of Rabbi Dr. Eugene Korn from Jerusalem. He also happens to be Toby Simon's brother, and on this panel will be Rabbi Altshuler and Samantha Kahn, Rabbi Samantha Kahn from Sinai, and the moderator is Cantor Murray Simon. So this should be excellent. I see in the notes that one has to register for this. We then, in a few weeks' time, I believe it's 4 weeks tomorrow, is the return of Cantor Ozzy Schwartz. And Sarah Nay Newman told us at the board meeting there were 40 seats or less that are left, but it's still time to get your tickets. So if those of you who need tickets, you can call the Opera House directly. I've called them so many times I know the telephone number off by heart, but I won't quote it. And if you have any other questions, please contact Edie Chaffetz, Sarah Nay Newman, or Fran Cohen. Following January 9th, we've also got our Scholar in Residence, January 28th, 29th. I've mentioned this before, but it's worth mentioning again. Alan Mendoza, who is the co-founder and director of the Henry Jackson Society. This is Britain's leading think tank, and he's an advisor to the UK government and the Prime Minister, and this will be a weekend not to be missed. Also in January is the return of Cantor Audrey Abrams, January 21st, 22nd. You'll all remember she was here 2 years ago, her great charm and beautiful voice, and so you'll be enthralled by Cantor Audrey Abrams. And also will be in the same vein, but in March, we're going to hear cantorial student Leah Dworsky, which should be terrific. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Pismon weekend in mid-February, and Al and committee have put a lot of work into this for 3 days of fun and good music, so that should be good. Please come to the congregational meeting tomorrow at 11 o'clock. We'll be welcoming in a new slate of officers. There will also be an important update in our COVID policy. Remember that the COVID task force has been working well to preserve the health of this community. Pikuach Nefesh is certainly one of the tenets of Jewish life and Jewish philosophy, and so we urge you to get your booster if you haven't done so before, and the continual wearing of masks in the sanctuary, which is our safe place, protects your health and those around you. There'll be an update tomorrow. So in conclusion, Esme and I wish you a very good week, and I hope to see all of you tomorrow. Thank you.
Yasher Koach, our dear president. Let's conclude with Adon Olam on page 211, I believe. Yes, 211. We'll have the Kiddush, then a little bit of an addendum. I've been asked to finish our service with Birkat Kohanim, so we're going to add that today as well. Adon Olam.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Ko Yitzim Nivra, Yeit Nasa B'chem Tzavol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Ko Yitzim Nivra, Yeit Nasa B'chem Tzavol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, Yacharei Kichlot HaKol, Levado Yimloch Torah, Vehu Hayah מכשילה להכפילה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, לא העוז והמצרוע,
אדון עולם,
השם
השם
עליו,
עליו,
בטרם
בטרם כל,
יצא נברא,
נברא, וינסה, בחפצו כל, אזי מלך, שמעוני קרא,
וחי גוני, וצלוחם לי ביצרה, והוא ניסי למנוסני, מנת כוסי, ויום אקרא.
אדון עולם,
השם עליו,
השם עליו,
בטרם כל,
בטרם כל,
יצא נברא,
ינסה,
בחפץ הכל,
בחפץ הכל,
אזי
מלך,
שמעוני,
שמעוני קרא בידו,
בידו אבקיד רוחי, בית ישן ויעירה, במרוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא יראה.
אדון עולם, השם עליו, בטרם כל, יצא נברא, ינסה,
בחפץ הכל,
בחפץ הכל,
חי
מלך,
שמעוני קרא.
Beautiful. We should add more stanzas because I don't want to stop. Shabbat Shalom. Please rise, everyone. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael to Shabbat. La'asot to Shabbat l'dorotam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti li'olam. Ki sheshitim yimas Adonai et hashemayim v'et haaretz. V'yom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash. Al kein berach l'nai et yom ha'shabbat v'kadshehu. Savri baruch atah Adonai. Eloheinu melech haolam. Borei pri hagafim. Chaim.
Chaim Tovim.
That's sweet. I always forget that there's a bag. B'shutchem baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Yevarech Adonai v'yishmerecha. E'er Adonai panav elecha v'kuneka. Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you from every harm. May God bless you with light and love, lift you and guide you on the paths of shalom, of peace. Shabbat shalom, everyone. How I love davening with you.
Testing, testing, testing. But I think that mic should actually be in the other room. There's no control for number 2 in this room. Oh. Shabbat Shalom.